Ah, she's so cute. She's my little sister.
When the family went to celebrate my older sister's baby, my 6-year-old daughter was overjoyed. The word sister made my husband widen his eyes for a moment, but he quickly chuckled and corrected her.
Not a sister, she's a cousin.
He seemed to think that our daughter had made a mistake due to her young age. However, the older sister remained frozen without even a smile at our daughter's words. Then came the next statement, hitting like a blow.
Huh? Because she's your child, Dad. She's my sister, right?
At that moment, I felt frozen. Because my daughter possessed a strange power. Children grow up so quickly. My daughter Kate had also turned 6 in the blink of an eye, at the adorable age. She had been begging, "I want a little brother or sister," but that was a difficult situation. You see, since Kate was born, my relationship with my husband Brian had been strained. Brian would hurl insults like ugly and fat at me whenever he saw me. Admittedly, I had been busy with work, house chores, and child-rearing every day, and I hadn't paid much attention to my appearance. Perhaps, it wasn't fulfilling enough for him as a wife. So, I made every effort to take care of my makeup and clothing.
You know, even if an ugly woman like you put on makeup, it just makes the ugly worse. It makes me sick.
What? Even though I made efforts, all I got from him were cruel words. Moreover, he would come home late every day without letting me know, sometimes returning in the early morning hours, doing as he pleased. Furthermore, if he didn't like the food I cooked, he would flip over the entire table, saying, "I can't eat such disgusting stuff." Of course, I had to clean up the broken dishes and scattered food. It was like a drama from the 1950s. I couldn't believe there were still people like that nowadays. Kate gradually became afraid of Brian's actions.
Hey, Mom, Dad doesn't want Mommy or Kate.
She whispered to me, tears streaming down her face. It seemed like my daughter could sense something from his actions. Since I thought my husband seemed to dislike everything about me, I also began to lose affection for him. Maybe, he's just under a lot of stress from work now and he'll return to being the kind Brian someday. The word divorce did cross my mind, but I still held on to a faint hope for my husband. Suddenly, I wondered if I wouldn't receive such treatment if I looked as beautiful as my sister Emily, who was 3 years older. Emily was stunningly beautiful, and although my parents adored both of us equally, the public's eyes were cold. They would casually compare me to Emily, saying things like, "Oh, your sister is so beautiful." I didn't care about other people's opinions. At least, if my sister were kind. Emily had been cruel to me since we were young. She would purposely break toys that our parents bought for me and then tell them,
"Even though you gave it to her as a present, I saw Kathy breaking it apart."
She would frequently say things like,
"Even if you're smart, with that appearance, it doesn't matter. Thank goodness I wasn't born with a face like yours."
and hurt me. That wasn't all. She tore up the diary our parents had given me for my birthday, which I treasured, and she would feed my friends false information to drive a wedge between us, causing many misunderstandings. I came to despise my sister. However, amidst all this, something joyful happened to me. Emily, who had become a nurse, was quickly courted by a doctor named Mike after starting work at the hospital and got married, moving out of the house. I was truly overjoyed. Now I won't have to face my older sister anymore. I won't be subjected to her harassment, I thought. However, my sister would go on to trouble me even further, but at that moment, I was simply reveling in the sense of relief. Fortunately, It seemed Emily was enjoying the life of a doctor's wife to the fullest, and she rarely visited our parents' house. Even when she did come back occasionally, I managed to keep my composure by avoiding her. After that, I graduated from a top university using my academic skills and landed a job at a renowned company, where I met Brian, who was an employee at one of our business partners. And, for years after my sister's marriage, I married him. It was on our wedding day that I met Emily again after a long time. Looking at Brian, my sister bit her lip, looking bitter.
Why can an ugly woman like Kathy marry a handsome elite?
That's such a cruel thing to say. I was at a loss for words, but I was also disappointed by Brian's reaction.
Oh damn. Kathy's sister is really beautiful. I made a mistake with my marriage partner.
Huh?
Oops, sorry. That slipped out. I mean, it's not about looks. I love Kathy.
Despite feeling uneasy about my husband's words, I managed to suppress my anger. There are things you shouldn't say even though we're going to be together from now on. With such feelings, I somehow managed to get through the wedding, and our married life began. Shortly thereafter, I became pregnant, and 10 months later, our daughter Kate was born. While I truly loved my child, there were times when I thought she was a bit unusual. It was when Kate turned 3. My daughter Kate is cute. I was thinking that while looking at Kate.
Kate is cute.
Huh? How did you know what Mommy was feeling?
Mommy said it.
I couldn't hide my surprise at my daughter's words. Then, when I had a headache, even though I hadn't said anything.
Mommy, pain, go away.
She said. She didn't seem to understand herself, but it seemed that Kate could hear the thoughts of others. And I wasn't the only one who noticed. When Kate was 4 years old, there was a time when my husband said he wanted to take a day off work because of a stomach ache.
Daddy, you got scolded by the president, didn't you? Poor thing.
My husband, who was shocked and wide-eyed upon hearing those words, started berating Kate.
How did you know that? Creepy kid.
I later found out that he had failed at work and caused damage to the company, receiving a direct reprimand from the president. Kate had spoken the truth, but it resulted in her being verbally abused by Brian. It seems that having strange powers can sometimes attract resentment from people. Even so, to see him get angry and deny his daughter's truthfulness. It was the moment when my trust in my husband was further shattered. Let's keep hearing each other's thoughts as a secret between Mommy and Kate.
Okay, got it.
I made such a promise with my daughter, but because of that, it seemed Brian came to believe that Kate no longer had any strange powers. However, I had only told my parents about my daughter's abilities. When I told them about Kate's powers and asked them to be understanding if something happened to me, my parents agreed to keep it a secret out of their love for their grandchild. After that, nothing changed, and Kate, who grew up healthy and lively, turned 6. It was around that time that we had a reason to gather at my sister's house. Emily, who got married early but was struggling to get pregnant, finally had a long-awaited child, and we gathered with both sets of parents for a celebration. Honestly, I wasn't excited about it, but since it was my real sister's baby shower, I had no choice. My husband and I also attended with our daughter.
Wow, so cute. She's my sister.
Kate, who had been wanting a younger sibling, was overjoyed to see the baby. However, it seemed she had misunderstood something.
Hey, Kate. No, she's not your sister. She's your cousin.
My husband hastily corrected her, but Kate was looking at him curiously.
Huh? But she's your child, Dad, so she's my sister, right?
No, I'm saying she's not. She's your cousin.
As my husband exchanged these words with Kate, I noticed something strange about my sister's demeanor. She had been glaring at Kate with pursed lips, but now she was looking at me with sharp eyes. Her eyes were bloodshot, her mouth twisted into an ugly grimace, giving her a demonic appearance.
Does your child have delusions? You're ruining the celebration even though it's supposed to be a happy occasion. How dare you?
Why are you getting so worked up? Is there something you're hiding? I know my sister's personality better than anyone. Emily always lied to trap me, but whenever her lies were about to be exposed, she would erupt in rage like a wildfire.
Ugh. Are you kidding me?
Just as she was about to attack me, her husband, Mike, intervened and stopped her. My daughter, frightened, pointed at Brian while hiding behind me.
But Dad said my baby is cute.
Ha! I didn't say anything like that.
My husband denied it, but sweat was pouring from his forehead despite the lack of heat. My parents' expressions changed upon Kate's words, and her in-laws felt the awkward atmosphere. That's when I realized everything. I see. So that's how it is. However, causing a scene here might just dismiss my daughter's childish ramblings. I decided to investigate my husband and Emily. My parents, who felt the same way, looked stern, but they seemed to understand for Kate's sake and didn't say anything. And so, we left my sister's house soon after leaving behind a gift, but on the way home, my parents told me something I didn't know. Later, I received a call from someone else, which surprised me. Although there was a commotion at the baby shower, afterward, there were no more calls from my sister, and time passed peacefully. Brian didn't mention anything about that day, and of course, neither did I. And I noticed that my husband seems to have reduced the number of abusive words he throws at me a little. I guess he's waiting for things to cool down. But it's not going to be that easy. Then, one day while contemplating these matters, I received a call from my parents. Apparently, Emily had called them to inform them about a naming ceremony they were planning. I wasn't invited, but I decided to attend anyway. However, not wanting to frighten Kate, I left her with a close friend and then contacted my husband. When my husband heard my words over the phone, he shouted,
It's a misunderstanding. Stop it! I'll be right there.
But I ignored him and hung up. Now Brian should come too. When I arrived at my sister's house, her in-laws and my parents were already there, and I took a deep breath before ringing the doorbell.
I didn't call for you. What are you doing here?
My sister glared at me with eyes filled with rage and tried to push me out forcibly, but I resisted, and we ended up in a scuffle at the entrance. Then her husband came over and tried to calm her down, allowing me to enter. The baby looked even cuter with her round features, and her light brown curls and faint blue eyes were just like Brian's. So it's true. How unfortunate. This child is innocent. As I thought that while looking at the living room decorations, my husband burst into the room as if rushing in.
It's not true. This child isn't mine.
With his loud declaration, everyone froze in shock. The first to speak up amidst the silence was Emily. Emily, what are you talking about? Stop it.
What are you talking about? Stop it!
But Kathy said she would expose them.
Yes. Before coming here, I had called my husband and told him. I'll tell everyone that my sister's child is yours. Stop me if you can. That's why Brian had rushed here in a panic. My sisters-in-laws were perplexed as they listened to their conversation. At that moment, Mike coldly informed them, "I know everything," and spread something out on the table. It was the result of a private investigator's investigation. It reported the affair between my husband and Emily, complete with several photos. There were even pictures of the two of them entering a hotel arm in arm, so there was no doubt they were having an affair.
Where did you get these?
It's no wonder my sister was shocked. After the baby shower, I had been contacted by my sister's husband. He had become suspicious because the baby didn't resemble him at all, and he had overheard Emily making affectionate phone calls to someone, so he had hired an investigator. Brian, who wanted to save himself, began to make excuses while looking at my parents.
Emily was the one who approached me. If such a beautiful woman seduces you, anyone would be tempted, right? I just played around a little. It was a moment of weakness.
Do you really want to escape that badly? You'll have to repay the loan from my parents right away.
Huh. How did you know?
In fact, my husband had been embezzling money from the company and using it for gambling, leading to his dismissal and a demand for compensation from the company. Despite that, he had lied and secretly borrowed money from my parents, claiming he had become a guarantor for a friend. Thinking that he might be pressured to repay the debt if his affair with my sister was exposed, he panicked. Here, I distributed printed evidence to everyone. It was the email exchange between Brian and Emily that was left on Brian's computer. The password was easy, seemingly typical of him, visible when he opened his computer. 7,777. Lucky 7. The emails contained sweet phrases like, "Last night was fun, I want to see you again, I want to be together forever, the child looks just like you," and so on.
When did? Kathy, are you trying to set me up?
Who knows? Nevertheless, my husband continued to awkwardly argue.
But there's no evidence that the child is mine.
That's right. This child is Mike's.
Despite Emily's assertiveness, my sister's husband and I exchanged glances and presented the results of 2 DNA tests. One showed a 0% probability of paternity between the baby and Mike. And this one shows a 99% probability of paternity. Yours. My sister's husband and I had cooperated to arrange for DNA testing of the baby's hair and each potential father. There was no more room for denial. Then, my sister covered her face with her hands and began crying dramatically.
But I desperately wanted a child to protect this lifestyle. I thought I could have a child with Brian. It can't be helped, right? It's unfair that only Kathy has a child.
Don't be ridiculous. Did you cheat on me to have a child? I was set up. Kathy, understand me.
Get away! Disgusting! As my husband tried to hug me, I pushed him away with all my might. When Mike and I announced our divorce, they cried and protested, but the eyes of all our relatives who looked at them were terrifyingly cold. Afterwards, Emily was divorced and kicked out of the house, facing a $20,000 alimony claim for her affair. Custody of the child went to my sister's husband, who had no biological connection, and she was also ordered to pay $500 in child support each month. Emily was even disowned by our parents and had to work night shifts to pay alimony and child support. Of course, I divorced my husband too. Brian borrowed money from loan sharks to pay $20,000 in alimony to both me and Mike. Additionally, he had to repay the $30,000 loan from my parents and pay for our daughter's upbringing. Now he lives in an old apartment, working on a daily contract job all day. Meanwhile, Kate and I returned to our parents' home and are enjoying peaceful days.
Grandpa and Grandma adore Kate so much.
That's what my daughter says, but it seems to be just a phrase from our parents, so she probably didn't hear their inner thoughts. I want to continue living brightly and positively for my daughter's sake. How did you find this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.